In this video, we are going to be looking at creating a double exposure effect. The first thing you want to do, you want to go to pixlr.com, File, Open, and then open two images. The first image should be one of the portrait shots that you took of a partner. If you can't find this, you can download the ones that are available on My Learning that you took earlier. The second image you want to have is one of a landscape image. You can take this from the My Learning folder for the double exposure. There are a variety of different ones available in there, so just pick your favorite. The first thing I'm going to do, or the first image I'm going to be editing, is the one of the portrait. I'm just going to scroll this down here to make it a little bit larger so I can see, and I'm going to go to the right hand side of the screen. You'll see a little bar that says layers. On the layers, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to tick or double click on this padlock to unlock the layer. This will allow me to make different kinds of adjustments to it and also to move it around. Then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, this icon down here that kind of looks like a page being turned over. I'm going to click on that. This is going to create a new layer, and by clicking and holding, I'm going to drag it just under the image of the face. If I deselect the image of the face, that hides it and we can no longer see it. Making sure that I have layer 1 selected, which is the bottom layer, I'm going to go across to the tools. I'm going to look for the paint bucket tool. Check the colour is set as white, which should be, if you drag your icon just to the top of this diamond, hit OK. On this layer, all I'm going to do is just drop a layer of white paint down. Okay, now I want to be editing the layer which has the portrait face on, and I'm not so worried about the background layer anymore. So I want to make sure I'm selected on here. By being selected on here, we can see that it is highlighted as blue. Again, looking for the tools, I'm going to be looking for the eraser tool. If you hover over the tools, they do indicate what they are, so I want the eraser tool. Now along the top, just under File, Edit, Image, Layer, you'll notice there are a few different options. There is opacity, that we are not going to be altering today, and there is this number here, which has 150. If I click on this, it brings up a variety of different brush shapes and sizes that I can choose from. These are more useful for when you are adding colour to an image, when you can choose what kind of shape you want your brush to be. For this one, we'll just leave it as the default. I'm going to pull this hardness icon up over here, make sure it's at 100, and by altering the diameter, I can change the size of the brush itself. So if I make it larger, we can see it goes ridiculously big. So I'm just going to have it quite a bit smaller so I can edit my image more easily. Click off that. Now all I'm going to do, all of this background, anything I have going on in the background around the face, I'm just going to erase. So I'm just dragging this tool around, making sure I'm erasing all the different parts. I want to get both the front of the model's face and the back as well, leaving a small gap between the background and also the model's face. The next step, I'm going to go to brush, click on it again, and I'm going to reduce the hardness down to about 20%, and also the diameter down a little bit as well. What this will now allow me to do is I can start to erase the parts that are closer to the model's face without removing so much. It will reduce a little bit less at a time. So if I drag over it now, we can see it's almost like a spray paint effect, and it's just reducing a smaller section as I go. If I hover back over it, it will increase the removal of the background until it's all gone. I want to try and get rid of any of this grey colour I've got, but not have such a sharp edge of where I'm removing. I'm going to do this both on the front and back of the model's head. If you make a mistake, remember, you can scroll over to your history and you can click on any of the layers to undo any of the mistakes that you made. Okay, just remove this last little bit here. Okay. My next step now, I want to bring the image I was looking at before, the image I've chosen as my scenic piece, the landscape piece, I want to bring this into the image of the person. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select the dotted line tool. I'm going to press Ctrl A to select all, and you can see there's these dotted lines moving around the outside of the image. I'm going to press Ctrl C or Command C, go across to my portrait and press Ctrl V or Command V. Now, as this has become the top layer, it is selected and we can no longer see the image underneath. We're nearly finished with this. One of the last things we need to just do is we're going to scroll down to making sure that we have the landscape selected. We're going to scroll down to where it says mode, click on normal, and this will give us different layer styles. So by adjusting these, we'll notice that the layers will change and work together differently. I'm going to scroll down to lighten, select lighten, and now we can see that parts of our landscape are showing on the face image. Unfortunately, because the face is still in colour, it kind of at the minute is not working very well with this background. So I'm going to select the layer with the face on, go to adjustment, desaturate, and there our image is starting to look a little bit better. What I can do as well, by selecting the mouse cursor, I can move the portrait, so move the landscape around to see where it works best. So somewhere like there, I'm quite happy with that, how it works. Let's see. Yeah, happy with that. What I can also do, if I want to manipulate this even further, I can go to adjustment, hue and saturation, and I can adjust the lightness to change how the landscape is interacting with the portrait, and also the saturation as well. Saturation will not have as much of an effect if you've reduced it to black and white, but the lightness still will. I'm going to click OK there. You can also do this separately on the layer when you have selected the portrait. So if I go to hue and saturation now and adjust that, it will increase or decrease the levels of detail I can see from the person's face. You're trying to aim here for semi-transparent, so you can only see parts of the portrait image, most of the background, although you're still keeping that layer of detail with the back of the face, and you can see your nose coming through there. By manipulating the layers and moving them around, try and see how you can achieve this image. Good luck.